Hey everyone, welcome back to the Challenger booth. We are teeing up round 4 of Team Dragon Knights versus Ember. Right now, 2-1 for TDK, and the man I think leading the way for both these wins so far has been Alex Sitch. Mid lane Nautilus was his most recent development here, and you know what? It was awesome. He crushed it, banner first, wrecked the AP solo laners, engaged the fights. It was just great.
It's so oppressive.
It was really oppressive.
In the lane, he just walks up and he just clears minion waves. You can't really do anything about it. He absorbs so much damage and he wave clears. And also the fact that Riptide will hit you multiple times, well, you can't really stay in this certain sweet spot of where his range is. So I think that Alex played it incredibly well, though. His flank was fantastic. The fact that he was able to use his hooks pretty reasonably well was pretty good to see from him. Overall, though, I think that the item build was the big standout, was that the entire team got on the same page of, this is how we're going to beat them at League of Legends. We're just going to stop them from playing. Yeah. And that's what they did. They're like, you're just going to fight minions all game. You're going to fight these minions that give you nothing, and you're going to have to just like kind of scramble to kill a banner minion. Right.
It was honestly well-rounded, right? They can play out of team fights by having better landing phases via Zrot, via banner. They just push harder. You can't pick them off because they're a bunch of tanks. And then if you get in a team fight, they reasonably well peeled for the Vayne. Occasionally, yes, OQ got caught out, and those were team fights that Ember tended to win, but as long as they played them reasonably well, it went out just fine. So we are here into Game 4 once again. TDK opting for blue side, Ember opting for red sides. The sides haven't changed at all. And the bans, well, they haven't either. Even in the same order, I think, at this point. Nidalee and Lulu dropped away by Ember. TF, Kog'Maw, Corki dropped away. TDK not allowing Ember to switch things up. Well, not allowing Ember to get the things that they were afraid of, I should say.
Is it Poppy again?
I think it's Poppy again. Oh, look, there's the hover. There's a lock-in.
Got him.
Now, if you steal away Ezreal, they probably should go back to the Vayne composition, but they are going to take away the Gragas here, so they're still not dropping the bans, but now they're saying, okay, well, Braum is up. This is what they were picking first round every single game until now by Ember, and they take away the Gragas. Finally. Right? Kez had a great Game 2 on Gragas. Got it again in Game 3.
Mistake.
Now they take it away.
Yep. I feel like they aren't testing each other enough. They're not trading effectively for champions. When you first pick something, you should be trading 2 picks. You have to think that champion is so good that we're going to trade Poppy for Gragas Nautilus or something really high priority, or Gragas and OQ's Ezreal's being taken away.
Yeah.
Right? That was not happening throughout pretty much the entire series so far. It's starting to happen now, and now we're seeing Nautilus go.
That's interesting, though, by TDK. They were hovering the Braum as though they realized that it was a really big deal, and then said, you know what, they don't care enough about it after all. So if they had done it, it would have betrayed that Nautilus had to go mid, pretty much, because Braum's obviously only a support. I say that as though we don't see more flex picks than this. And Flair's been playing Poppy, so it would have given away the mid lane matchup. This at least gives TDK a little bit of play.
Yeah.
It still gives that Braum that Ember were so afraid of, or so concerned with getting for themselves, back to Ember, which, again, maybe they just don't care about.
Yeah, that's true. Because that's the only reason that you wouldn't pick the Braum there if you wanted to play Braum. Because if I wanted to play Braum, I would take it there and just say, that's okay. They showed their jungle. Elise is no longer contested. Whatever. We're moving on. Yeah. We're going to take 2 power picks. So like they're hiding that.
I like this, though, by Ember. We saw Trundle do well into Nautilus in Game 2. And Ember have realized, look, we need to play a tank in the top lane because Solo's honestly not having a great day outside of tanks. And look, Trundle just is good in the tanks. They've identified that the comp that worked for TDK, OQ, when he's not getting the Ezreal, has gone for Vayne so far. That Nautilus and the Poppy, like, those are already 2 tanks they've got at the very least. And you almost expect it to be in the mid lane in the first place at this point. So I like Trundle here. The Braum, they just think is valuable. But this team does not have damage unless Golden Glue plays something with damage. The highest damage champion he's played so far today has been Karma, which is mid-tier to low in terms of damage output, as TDK are hovering pretty much the same comp as last game.
Yeah, you pretty much have 2 damage abilities on Karma, so...
Yeah.
You know, you have some that amplify others.
Yeah, you have some damage, it's just not... It's not Cassiopeia 0 level, right? Actually, a 0 would have been sick last game as well. Just any of those, like, really solid mid-range.
True.
Either way, off topic, of course, we're not talking about that game anymore, but hey, TDK Again, a basically 4-tank team. Nautilus mid, Poppy top, Alistar support. There's the Vayne AD carry. Ezreal, or sorry, not Ezreal. Elise can build AP, so we'll see which build Kez goes for. He can be a second threat in this lineup.
Yeah, I think he likes Rylai's a decent amount.
Yeah.
He likes being a little bit of the utility
sure.
slow. Like, if Kez gets an opportunity to disengage with a champion that he plays, he'll probably go for it.
Yeah.
The Gragas he uses the barrel incredibly well.
Right.
And the Elise is pretty much the same story.
So we expect to see Runic Echoes Rylai's out of this Elise here. Bit of magic damage, a little bit of durability as well. Final pick for Ember is Orianna here for Golden Glue, so I like this a lot. It's finally a good damage threat. Also, by the way, when your team is 4 melee, Shockwave tends to hit you really hard, so this actually, I think, is the making of some pretty good things for Ember. Golden Glue finally on a real damage dealer and some real teamfight utility. This is an improved champ select, I think, by a lot. The Trundle, I believe, helps that quite a bit as well. But TDK, look, they had played this game so beautifully last time with roughly this exact same composition. A few changes by Ember, but by and large, TDK had done so well with this before.
Yeah, but they do have to go up against a Trundle now, and they have to go up against a Braum, as well as having that Gragas taken away from them. So there's actually a fair amount of tanks on the Ember squad now as well. It just comes down to damage dealers and how quickly you can get through the enemy tanks. And of course, Vayne is pretty damn good at that.
Vayne is very good at that, so we'll see how much damage she can really push through, because sometimes if she's zoned out by the threat of getting Shockwave, the threat of getting caught out by a pillar, and you can't really tumble over pillars, by the way, so that can really mess with you sometimes.
True.
He can be zoned out of dealing damage, and that's what it comes down to, is how much uptime does OQ get. You guys, it's here for Game 4. TDK up 2-1 already. Tweet @LOL Esports, hashtag TDK winner, hashtag MBR win for which team it's going to be. Team Dragon Knights are on match point right now. Promo tournament is in their sights. They've got 2 chances to win 1 more game and make it to the Challenger Finals for a shot at the first seed coming out of Challenger in that one. Here we go into Game 4. Ember's backs against the wall. They have to do it here or their postseason is over.
And that would just be devastating for Ember.
Yeah.
They brought in Santorin from across the globe to fill out this roster and prepare them for, if they made promo tournament, to be able to play with this guy. Their backs are against the wall. They're still not throwing contracts in just to get the chance to play the squad that they were practicing with throughout the first 5 weeks of Challenger. So this is quite scary for Ember and Ember fans. Because TDK, I mean, who expected this result? When you saw that Flares and Alex were thrown onto this roster.
And Seraphim away.
2 members that most recently played on the last place LCS team. And then the last place Challenger team, their support.
Right.
Who expected that result? It's actually quite mind-boggling because Ember, they were just doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
And they were just looked like they were on the up and up. You bring in Santorin, you assume, okay, well, that's just going to bolster them even more. Well, it hasn't been the case for this squad.
And it really hasn't.
They might have to go back to the drawing board for summer.
Not what Ember was going to hope for here, but at the very least, by making the playoffs, both these teams are guaranteed their spots in Challenger for the next split. Making top 4 was enough for that here, so there will be a competitive future for either of these teams. One of them may have it in the LCS. We'll see what that ends up being here, of course. As we start in this game, TDK invade into that right side jungle. They take away small pieces of the blue buff. Very solid start by them. Ember, once again, spot that no one is there and don't take pieces. I think it's not as good as stealing away the parts of the blue buff, but it will get him into lane to grab XP right away as Stunt takes down 1. And we are in a lane swap yet again. I believe every single game was a lane swap at the start of this one. 2v0 lanes to start things out. Kez and Flares is jungling safely. No big issues here. There's level 2. And yeah, actually only halfway through the second camp is when Flares leaves. I know you were mentioning that he's coming across early, but yeah, he is coming across really early, letting Flares get a lot of the solo XP here.
Yep, making it so that he can hit level 3 very quickly. Is Flares even taking any experience before he goes?
He has at least a CS, so I assume he's taking some.
Okay, because that's how...
yeah, because Kez wasn't even level 2 until he finished red buff.
Yeah.
So Flares took half of Romp at least, or half of Raptors at least.
Okay. Yeah, because that's how Immortals actually do it.
They give nothing to Huni?
Yeah. You can watch the games where, like, the one against TSM, where he plays Fiora, and then Rainover plays Olaf, right? He walks away, and he actually walks away from every camp and doesn't get any EXP, so Rainover can be level 3 and can cause shenanigans. He can go body slam mid or something, right?
Yeah.
Basically, the thought is the level 3 on our jungler at that
important
than
than 2 on the top laner.
Exactly.
Right, and that's the allocation of resources here. TDK will be knocking down this turret pretty easily. Flares will take a shot, but he should knock into that one. He will survive. However, he's low on health, which means most top laners typically stay in the lane that they freeze. But Flares is now in a bit of a pickle here because he can't easily fight the eventual Trundle in his lane or the eventual Ezreal and Braum in his lane. I want to see if that actually changes his decision somewhat.
He does have some flask charges.
Yeah, it's just not going to be what you want to have. He might have to recall soon. Santorin counter jungling the Wolves partially. And he's going to be just fine here. Smallest of goal leads right now for Ember by getting a few more camps overall in this one. Ember were, in fact, roughly a wave slower at killing off the turret, but that doesn't really mean too much here. Mid lane matchup is right now a slight lead for Golden Glue. He has pushed through all of Alex's flask charges, and turns out Orianna just does more damage than Morgana here, so should have a decent chance of continuing to try to pressure him.
And this is definitely comfort for Golden Glue.
Oh, yeah.
He made his debut on Orianna.
Yep.
In the LCS when people had no idea who he was. And it's like, okay, we pulled up Golden Glue. Well, I guess I'm going to play Orianna. I believe he got a quadra kill that game as well.
Yeah. Quadra kill by missing shotgun. Meanwhile, though, headbutt polarized from over the wall. Golden Glue pulled back in. Kez getting some damage, but they don't have quite enough damage to deal. Golden Glue only had to burn Flash. He has Ignite, otherwise didn't have to use it. And he survived the encounter. Really big deal here for this one. But Golden Glue now stuck under turret. He needs help. He's going to get dived again. He's missing Flash. Santorin's here. And that is enough to keep Golden Glue alive for now, but it will mean they miss some of this gold under the turret potentially as they try to wave clear it. A few auto attacks coming through. Command attack could do a bit more. Ember have swapped their dual lane back to the bottom side, and they will knock this turret down. 5 minutes into this game, as the dual lanes have swapped back to where they were before. We have a quick pause in this game. Just so you guys know, we had just, mirrored swaps here on phase 2 of the lane swap, and attempted aggressive play in the mid lane, which is good by TDK. Again, their big issue is being too passive. I mean, they've gone for some really nice moves, but Santorin was there to defend him.
Yeah, and I was talking before about how maybe throwing in this new blood was going to make them more aggressive. Well, Flares has been nothing but aggressive.
Yeah. And
Alex as well. Alex is pretty much just
felt much more comfortable.
Exactly, throwing himself at the enemy over and over and over again. I think that he comes into these matchups and thinks that even though Golden Glue has counterpick, that he's a better laner. I think that he's coming in with full confidence over that and says he knows how to play the map better as well. Of course, the pause is that Trance is having some computer issues, so we'll be back up in just a moment as soon as that gets figured out.
Yep. All the players are here on LAN, essentially playing here in the Riot studio. So got IT on hand. It shouldn't be too big of an issue, and they're even on the local host LCS tournament realm as well. So thankfully, no internet issues for these guys. That's always nice to do for the playoffs and whatnot. And
yeah, you'd think it would stop all the pause. No.
Yeah, but okay. So quick computer issue. I'm sure that'll get solved before too terribly long. Shouldn't be a major issue. Yeah. But yeah, we just take stock of this game, and it starts as kind of all of the lane swap games do. It starts very close. No major mistakes. After game 1, both teams did the exact same situations where the jungler and top laner started on the safest possible side of the map. The dual lanes made sure there was nothing greedy going on by the other side. There wasn't, so just a standard turret trade, standard sort of early game stuff. TDK made the first move to go for the mid lane gank, and it burned a Flash. Now we'll see if they can get any more out of it.
Yeah, and that Flash is actually quite important because whenever you're playing against a Nautilus, just the amount of CC he has, the hook, the root, the slow, just makes it very easy to have a follow-up gank, no problem. At least, I mean, Kez could go for a Flash Cocoon. Not really his style to try and go for that risky play, but he can go for it now and know that there isn't the opportunity to have it flashed away. So.
Yeah, now to make that actual play happen, Trance had, of course, flashed the Raptor wall, then headbutted forward, which is a sick play, of course, really, really smart by him. But that was his losing of 2 summoners. Alex Hitch TP'd back into lane to not miss XP, so that's a summoner down. Kez didn't burn anything, but that was 3 summoners for that play. Golden Glue only lost his own Flash. So cooldown-wise, which don't have a ton of intrinsic value unless you have to use them again, of course, TDK did burn a whole lot more, and that's, and a lot of times, very relevant. And so if in the next 4 minutes, those summoners being down gets punished, then, well, that play ends up backfiring. If they don't get punished, well, TDK burned a Flash, and they made Golden Glue miss some golden XP. And, we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yep. And I think that right now, another thing is the top lane. Speaking of missing golden XP, a little bit of an advantage right now for Flares. And they're still in a lane swap scenario now. So you can see right there, FLICKR's picked up 14 CS.
Yeah.
Solo, he's not really getting too much of...
Yeah, he pretty much instant recalled. Like, FLICKR's got to take a couple of waves and come back down. Well, we're seeing bot lane outer turret going to be going down pretty easily. Lot, of course, does have that tier, and he's stacking it up. And they will once again give the solo gold to Solo, but there's too many minions. This turret's going to die early, I believe. 3 casters should be enough.
It's still going to be okay, though.
Yeah, because there's an extra wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to be fine. Into the Dragon they go. A trade of turrets equal so far. Dragon on top of a Trinket Ward. It's not going to matter, though. Ember will get that easily. TDK making the obvious choice of reacting and taking Rift Throw to the other side of the map. This is honestly what happens when neither teams go for any really huge plays or make any huge mistakes. You just trade equal resources for a while. And now the question is, with all the side lane outer turrets being down, now you have to make some real lane assignments and make some actual choices.
Yeah, it's just mirrored for a good portion of the game, 7 minutes.
Yep.
Now top laners freeze, top laners try to CS. The next move, though, it really depends, because you can see people all pile mid and try to kill Golden Glue because that's that last turret that's up. Or it could just become a farm fest, which TDK are completely fine with the champions they have. I think they're 100% okay with just having Vayne scale up. But Ember are also okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, like, level 18 Trundle is pretty good in this composition. Right, Titanic Hydra, you start crushing the front line, you ult somebody, become actually unkillable. I don't like single threat comp super late game. I think they start to fall off. Okay, yes, you know, this Nautilus and this Poppy will do some level of damage, but I do think that in the general sense, Ember outscales. I think Poppy power spikes before Ezreal. 2 items. I'd rather be the Vayne. Sorry, I think I said Poppy. Vayne outscales the Ezreal at 2 items. Because you have to wait for the tier to stack up and all those things, but level 18 full build, I like Ember here. So there is some level of, at about 25 minutes, requirement of TDK to build an advantage.
Yeah, a lot of it's actually on Golden Glue and Solo if he can get a split push going. Because Banner's not going to really slow down Solo too much.
Yep.
He actually likes having Zerot minions because his passive.
Sure, they'll heal him.
So it actually helps him.
Yeah.
Your Zerot makes him stronger.
That's true. And of course he can kill Banner minions real fast, so as long as he's sent to the correct spot, something to watch for certainly. Now it is a double teleport team on TDK. Golden Glue is running Ignite to Alex's teleport, and that is going to be an important factor as we crash into the mid game here. We have the, again, sort of similar swap going on here as OQ is pushing in the right-hand side of the map, and so is Lot, of course, on the left.
I missed that. How did Alex get that blue?
I didn't see it. Looks like, well, because the dual lanes are the way they are. Flair's roaming around as well. This is not a good thing for Golden Glue. Puts the shockwave down, shields himself, but he's going to go down. First blood, 2 tanks taking down an Orianna. It's basically because of the arrangement of the dual lanes. Ember, though, still pushing, and they're pushing faster with this red buff on Santorin. It's a lot of damage coming down. This turret's at half HP already. Yeah, the Orianna died, but how fast can the rest of the team recall? That will be an inhibitor turret taken down. Ezreal helping the other 3 members knock that thing flat.
Yeah, you have to think about what Ezreal's going to do in terms of attack speed. And now OQ, well, they'd have to stop so many backs for so long to even get OQ to
No, Vayne's
take
not going to
this
kill this turret fast at all. He gets this wave and he has to back. There's just no way.
Yeah, maybe make a swoop towards mid. But, yeah.
Yeah. No, they don't have the place to do it. He got to kill a couple of waves. He makes Golden Glue hold this. Mid-wave crash into the turret, but that's going to be the limit of the advantages here. It's interesting because you asked why did Alex get the blue buff?
Yeah.
Because of the lane assignments. They were on that side of the map for the 7-minute blue respawn, roughly. Okay, a bit later than that. And so he got pulled over and took it.
Yeah.
Ember just spent more time pushing and saying, no, forget that. We can knock this thing down really fast. And props to them for realizing that. Blue buff for inhib turret, take that every time.
Oh, yeah. I was sitting there like, I don't know why he even has that. Especially since the answer wasn't even to take it. The answer was to take a
turret, yeah. But Tear the Goddess or not, turns out Essence Flux is better at killing turrets than Vayne with no items. That's going to feel pretty good. Ember sitting on a 700 gold deficit. That is what First Blood's going to do for you. Inhib turrets themselves actually not worth that much gold. They're not worth the same as Tier 2s. But still, it's going to feel pretty good for map pressure. We'll see what else can be done. Couple of pings from the blue team on top lane Tier 2. They're trying to pressure this one here. on the way pings as well. TDK really looking to take top side of the map here. OQ running through, plenty of wards coming out. And Santorin has to really respect the fact that he doesn't own this jungle anymore.
Yep. All the wards on this side now, sweeping it out. But now everybody rotating up here. Lot will be able to pick up a nice big juicy wave.
And Solo's putting at the bot lane with teleport up, so we can answer this pretty easily here.
TDK want to stop the farm.
Teleport coming in from Flares to really push them back, and that means quite a bit of turret damage goes down, but the minion wave wasn't there just yet, and so it gave time for Ember to regroup, push that forward, and stay safe. Teleport used for basically nothing, except now they can rotate back down to the mid lane, and they can surround on this turret, and Golden Blue has to give them respect. Solo's getting some farm in the bot lane, but TDK pushing a bit better. Flares knock up on a stun, buys some more time, and the turret will go down. Good management of the resources. TDK making the rotations to knock down a turret.
Yep. And TDK, it looks like they want to go for a Rift Herald here, possibly hand off another one to OQ. Down bottom, though, you do have to watch out for the Trundle, sending Flares to answer. But Santorin's also on that side of the map.
Level 7 for both. Inside of Miniwave is not the best thing for Flares here. Wave clears it out, but
gotta be careful.
Loses some health. Yeah, Rift Herald taken. Goes to OQ. He's going to feel good. Gragas coming down, and that, I don't know if it's going to even be a factor.
They saw him on the pink ward.
Flares showed in time to absorb the golden experience. He'll actually be out-leveling Solo as a result. Midway level 8 already. And look at that gold lead now. Turrets equalized because of the mid lane play. Up a kill. 1,200 gold. Solid.
And Ember. We were saying it at the start. They might not make promo tourney.
Yeah.
TDK. They had to do a whole revamping of their roster. They're saying the team that beat Ember last week, there was only one returning member, and that was OQ.
Yep.
Of course, Kez and OQ, the two members that come back for playoffs that were in the regular season at all for this TDK squad.
And 3 new members makes it a pretty good team now.
Yeah, it seems like they have a lot of different balances that actually play along with each other pretty well. Their map play at the start, at the beginning of the series, was really sloppy, but Ember showing a lot of weaknesses in theirs.
And it gives TDK control over this dragon side of the map. Again, I think TDK's mid game is better. Orianna needs 2 items to be really good. Nautilus is fine with a banner. Honestly, Trundle, I think, more of a scaler as well, and as far as top laners go. As a support, you just press R and it's fine, but as a top laner to be useful, you need a bit more than this. So
yeah, Iceborne and Titanic usually.
Right, and so there's again, this time of growth for Ember, and that needs to happen over the next 10 to 15 minutes before too much gets lost. They got the first Dragon, so Dragon's not an easy timer here. That's not really a big issue here in this game. TDK only up 1,000. I mean, solid by them to get that 1,000 gold, but the question is, can they get more easily? Outer turrets are all gone. Now comes the harder part of the sieges. They're keeping up wards really well. You can see Kez on this side of the map. A couple of wards here on this right-hand side. And nice.
Another blue control.
Yep.
And Kez has actually been having a really good game. Really good series. His Gragas was really good. His Elise. Control is really good.
And Ember late to the party, realizing the blue buff was just stolen there. They weren't there on time. Solo was on that side of the map. Didn't even think that it might be going down already.
Oh man, OQ.
Couldn't have stopped it regardless. OQ getting plenty of farm, of course.
Nice wave for himself as well on his Bane.
Yep. He's going to feel good about this one.
Good CS advantage and solo experience for this. So he'll be hitting level 9 soon.
Yeah, should be the end of the wave for level 9. That's a pretty big deal. 3 points Q, 3 points W. Should be maxing, of course, Silver Bolts at this point. And we'll have that by level 10. That'll be solid.
TDK, third place squad. They had high expectations when they brought that whole team in with Seraph and Ninja. They were saying that they wanted to get #1 and not drop a single game.
Yeah.
Well, TDK, they failed at that, but this revamped roster just looks like, what would they have been like if they had been in Challenger?
Sure.
Flares has always been a dominant top laner in Challenger. And when he makes LCS, it's kind of another problem, right?
Yeah.
Because he's got a very solo queue mentality. You see him jump in over and over again. Alex bringing a lot of the team play, and even playing just a tank in the mid.
Yep.
But it's still a heavy damage dealer. Like, don't be deceived.
Sure. He's got pretty good mid-game damage. It eventually falls off over time, but that's how tanks work. Their first few abilities do plenty of damage, then it starts to scale away as people get more health in their pools, and they stop buying damage items. But that is not this time. The mid-game is TDK's time for sure. Flare's going to find the stun into Solo. Plenty of damage dealt there, down to 2/3. trades right back in. FLICKR is still just winning this matchup for now. Solo getting pushed back. No one's on this side of the map right there. Red buff respawns. FLICKR still pushing in. And now a new minion wave says Solo could trade right back. Gets the Grasping and Dying heal, and FLICKR kites back until his passive's back. Pops the ulti. Sends him up towards the river. Santorin's right around though. And he's there to defend. Kez doesn't even want to fight this. He's just taking his red buff away. Minion wave being controlled back and forth. Mid lane wave meets. Solo, I don't think he's going to like fighting flares anymore. Although flares actually now out of mana means it could be a bit better. Pops the ulti and in comes the team, but teleport is popped. That could be Alex is showing up there. Flashes, almost gets the stun. That was close. Alex rejoins the fight. Kez to be here as well. Stuns Santorin. Anchor toss in. Look at the damage, and whoa! Santorin thought he could save the day, but instead only gave up 450 gold. And Ember falling farther behind.
So much used there as well. Flash from Solo, and Santorin just trying to salvage the situation. Those TP turnarounds are big, and Golden Blue didn't take one this time. He took Ignite, most likely to try and deal with OQ later on in the game.
Yeah, he's trying to deal damage.
But I honestly think that the Ignite isn't that great, because when you're up against that Vayne that late in the game that your Ignite is going to matter, he's going to have QSS. Like, that's my take on it. I think that having you have the exhaust on stun, which I think is good for the early game, especially since you're going to be laning against the Vayne a decent amount. But I think that the TP is just something that has been proven throughout the series.
Really useful.
Be super useful in
Absolutely. Showing up to the fights has been a big deal. Team Dragonites, 2,500 gold up, 2 kills to 0. Rift Herald was theirs yet again, this time given away to Kez. He's going to continue to power up. Aegis built second for him after the Runic Echoes. We see FLICKR's not going for that same banner Zerat build, because guess what? You're against Trundle. You need actual combat stats for this one. Going towards what looks to be maybe Dead Man's Plate's second item here. After the Sheen with Sunfire Cape. Kez clears away a pink ward without too much trouble, and you can see the TDK. Look at their ward line. Yeah, they don't have a ton of super deep wards, but they have a few watching the jungle. But there are 0 for Ember. They have not been able to cross the river successfully in really any meaningful way here.
Yeah, this blue buff has been the property of TDK.
Yes, it has.
Since the second spawn.
I think every single one. Their dual lane was bot side, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they would have gotten the first one from Kez at the very start of the game, and that blue buff has every single time gone to TDK. That's not a good thing for Orianna, who no longer gets blue buffs. Yeah, Athene's is nice, and he's going towards Luden's Echo second, which is good because it gives him some upfront damage. But it's just a slow game of Ember trying to scale up before TDK takes too much from them. Vayne, 161 CS, and it's not coming at the cost of any of the other players. Look at the farm levels. Nautilus, same as Orianna. Poppy, ahead of Trundle here, and yet somehow 25 CS up for the AD carry.
Oh, Solo.
He's getting lower and lower. Look at the stun. He ults it, gets knocked into the air, and there's the re-engage. FLICKR takes him down with help from Kez. Another kill picked up. The game flowing farther and farther in TDK's favor. 3-0 in kills, 3,000 gold now. The lead for these guys. They finish this game, they win it, and they are in the promo tournament.
Yeah, we don't know if they're in the first round or if they're in that second round and automatically in the double elimination portion, but we do know that Alex has another blue buff from that side of the jungle. From Ember.
It is always theirs, and now Dragon 2 is going to be theirs as well. They control this map right now. Ember can only sit and wait and scale up. I'm sure there were opportunities this game to make plays and to find picks and to take people down. Maybe it's the mid lane on Alex Sitch. You go to the source of the global, you go towards the teleport so that he can't make plays elsewhere, but Ember have not found any footing in this game. Still slowly scaling up. 5 CS till the Cole is done for Lod. That'll be a pretty big deal for him. The Spike of Gold will give him Iceborne Gauntlet. His Manamune stacking up, sitting at 718 right now. So that's basically done. But look at this roam. OQ in behind Solo.
Oh, they're just picking on Solo at this point. They know he doesn't have flash, and they just keep coming towards him.
He ulted Kez. He's putting attacks down, but that's going to be the kill picked up. Not a chance. OQ with a great flank. Kez buying enough time. First kill of the game now for the AD carry. This Vayne scaling up. 3,000 gold now the lead for TDK, getting farther and farther and farther ahead.
And they're just bleeding at that point. Ember, Solo has now died twice back-to-back, and he got ganked even before that just to get the flash, which gave up Santorin's life. So what's going on is this bottom half of the map is just a death zone for Ember. Like, accomplishing something on this side of the map requires you to actually clear out vision that TDK has of your jungle. You have a ward that is exposing a pink ward at your blue, and you're not clearing it. You're allowing them to come from different angles. You don't have control. And that's what Ember are failing to recognize, is that they don't have control because they need to establish it first before they push out. Or else they're just going to have that happen to them every time.
Yeah.
They're skipping a step.
They are skipping a step, and that step is getting penalized heavily, just stomping on their foot, really, TDK. Getting farther and farther ahead with every move they make here. Shiv going to come in for OQ yet again, just going for the higher damage build in the general sense. They're not really worried about getting assassinated. Ember, all they've been doing for the last while is just scaling up and trying to farm. Solo is going for the Iceborne Gauntlet second, but that means he's actually pretty squishy, all things considered. Flares has the Iceborne for himself, and here's again the battle, but here comes the Nautilus yet again. Someone comes in from behind, and Solo yet again skips the step, gets knocked around, has to flash the wall, does get away, but that is a summoner spell lost for the fact that they don't have the ward control to spot these roams.
Yeah, and they keep doing this. They're just like, keep going towards the Trundle. The Trundle is pretty squishy right now. He doesn't have any resistances. All he has is some HP, and that's the power
ulti on a Poppy.
Yep. He'll ulti, he'll get a little bit back, but honestly, just the amount of damage that they're able to do to the Trundle. Get his flash. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they just keep trying to throw 4 people at that lane.
Sure. It's working. They're getting income out of it, right? TDK aren't necessarily taking objectives because the turrets are mostly already dead, but it's a way to scale up into the game here. Solo, a level down behind, getting some damage, but look at that. It barely even affects flares. Just does not have the health damage, and he's just not getting through anything. I'd rather see Ruin kick tank than this build.
Solo pushing up, and they don't have eyes on Alex, means that he can just TP in at any time.
And with wards behind him, that could certainly happen. If he pushes in one more time, that TP can land into the ulti, into the kill. He's got no flash. He's got no ulti right now as well. You can see Flares winning that fight pretty handily.
Of course, out of mana on Flares, so
yeah,
you can't keep it up for too long here.
The one benefit for Solo is he's less mana gated by his gameplay here. Into the turret he goes, actually. Flare's taking a chunk of damage. Solo ulted him, and he wants this fight to happen, but guess what? No teleport on his team. No one can flank Flares. If Orianna had that, that could have been a kill. But now it's actually Baron being attempted. Both top laners low. No one can TP. That's fine. We'll 4v4 you at Baron. Force the rotation. Doesn't quite happen. Ooh. Recall gets stopped. He wasn't going to die from that one, but certainly buys some more time. Okay, so that ulti was popped by Lod. What does Ember get with that extra 15 seconds of time?
Looks like they get to go run top lane. They don't get to do anything on Poppy. They don't
get to react to TDK.
Yes.
Solo gets some farm and recalls again. This is definitely not looking good for Ember right here.
Solo's almost 2 levels down. He was level 11 to the 13 of Flares just a moment ago.
Now finally resets the wave. Still can't complete Iceborne Gauntlet. Actually still sitting at 450 gold and not enough to combine the items. So just getting farther and farther behind. I mean, there's 2.5 full completed items for Flares here. He's nearly got that Spirit Visage. No longer even building for his lane opponent anymore. Trinket used it again, spots the fact that Baron is getting taken down rather rapidly. 2 tanks in a Vayne. Not going to make that too hard for Baron to go down. Solo in the front lines. He's got the ball, and he's going to get hit up. Anchored in. Where's the shotgun? That's going to be important. The knockback, and he just goes down. Couldn't even ult. Shotgun hits 2 tanks, but no one cares. Gordiglu's nearly dead. Lot's trying to run. Kez is back in the mix there, and the Mystic Shot misses. Couple of slows come through. Distortion to buy some time. Stunts maybe going to go down, and he will. OQ on a killing spree. 6-0 in kills. Ember can't find any legs to stand on.
And Ember, they have to be so worried right now because TDK, they're about to wrestle complete control of this game. They already were basically getting their hands around it, and now it's almost in their clutches completely.
Team Dragon Knights in their 3rd straight LCS promotion tournament appearance. Twice from the Challenger side, once from the LCS side. This could be it if they win this game right here. Ember need a minor miracle to catch back up in this one. Santorin looking for the attempt to steal, but he's getting locked up too hard, getting back, tackled by Poppy. But Kez is running out of health, gets a smite in time. That will be Baron, just barely for TDK. Solo wants in, he wants to kill off Alex Sich. The ulti's on, they might get that first kill, but 1 champion kill as a trade for Baron. Not a good thing for Ember. They will not stop Flares, he will get out. And TDK so far ahead now.
Ember just look lost. They look all over the place. I feel like they don't know how to deal with these picks. They're banning the same thing every game. The fact that they're on the same side every single game seems to be just working against them. and reacting to Alex, reacting to flares, reacting to these picks. This is a big learning lesson for Ember. Of course, they do retain their Challenger Series spot if they end up losing this game for next split. But man, they looked really good at the end of the split. Playoffs, though, completely different looking Ember.
Yeah. Well, Contract's not on the field, and honestly, he was arguably the best player on Ember in the regular season. And they took the gamble saying, look, playoffs might be harder with Santorin, but we want to be in shape for the promo tournament. That's the real goal, is the LCS. Maybe this team would have looked different with Contract playing for him. But they went for the play, the longer-term play. And Ember may be stuck in Challenger for another split, as they have not been able to pass through the mini-boss that is TDK.
Trance does a really good job here of locking up Golden Glue, and Solo got locked up at the same time. So you're not able to actually relocate where the ball is, and Flares just jumps on the Golden Glue. Of course, the Nautilus ultimate ends up getting fizzled there by the Poppy ultimate. So Golden Glue would have died there if it had been in reverse order. And he actually probably would have knocked up multiple members of his team because he tried to flash away instead of dying. And Kez's cocoons have been on point.
Yeah, 2 in a row, very good ones.
Yeah, good pick player. He's also good at controlling the vision, which is something that TDK have been excelling at over Ember.
Absolutely.
They've been strangling them out of this game.
Yeah, totally true. And Kez has always been the vision control guy, and when you have a team composition that just kind of needs to make plays for Vayne, and then they're able to get these picks off of Solo. I mean, the problem is that TDK has normally been too passive, and it's not like they've been incredibly aggressive. Yeah. This game in particular, last few they've been pretty good, but Ember just did nothing. Nothing came out of this team in the early game. They got 1 kill just now on the backside of Baron. That shouldn't happen.
And Golden Glue having his flash blown very early on, and then the pressure from Santorin really wasn't there. It was kind of being reactive to Kez. Solo not on something that could even really hold up the flares later.
Ooh, nice bit of damage there, the turret helping. Of course, with 3 dragons already picked up, TDK can just poke at turrets and put the dot on them and slowly wear these things down, so flares will make progress against Solo in this matchup. As the team rotates back to the mid lane here, Ember late to the draw, actually.
Oh, top turret has a Zerat on it.
Yeah, so it does.
See what happens there while they whittle away at mid and bottom.
And whittling away is what's happening here. Baron buff has timed out. Not too much was gained for that. Gold lead remains 6,000. That is big, but not insurmountable. This is still a winnable game from Ember, but TDK are in the lead and looking to make their way into the promo tournament with this win. And here they go. Next attempt for the mid lane inhibitor turret. Flares on one side, OQ on the other. Pulling in tanks to keep the team afloat. Kez did go lock it before he went for that Ryla's Crystal Scepter, but still a mix of ability power and tank stats. Back to the top lane they go. OQ has no competition. Top lane tier 2 will go down, but that was an eventuality. There was no way Ember could repeatedly save this as well as the inhib turret, so that does finally go down. Good rotation by TDK and OQ in particular. Now the top lane he goes, but no one's here right on time, so he gets 5, 6, 7 auto attacks in this turret before finally tumbling away.
And the burn is actually quite significant.
Sure.
It scales with level, I believe, so.
Yep, the Ember turrets.
Right now. Great work for him. Solo had to go bottom. Solo had to clear out that gigantic wave. And then in the mid lane, everybody just kind of expected TDK to continue to push, and that's how OK was able to just easily get to that top side. Delays Kez. Not too bad, though.
Yeah. The problem with doing that, though, is we're on 6.4. The Ezreal ultimate has a much longer cooldown now.
Yeah.
And honestly, using your ulti just to stop recall, that's not always up for the next team fight afterwards. Not that Ember are really winning team fights anyway, and you know that's of course an issue, but that is a non-trivial amount of the damage coming out from Ember here. And if it is indeed down for the next fight, that's a big deal. Right now they're okay. Minions cleared back and forth. Red buff on OQ is going to feel pretty good. Shiv and a Phantom Dance are actually his next item, so very attack speed focused, really anti-tank. And that'll be interesting to watch what he can do with this. Of course, makes it even harder to kill him in a duel.
It makes it very hard to catch him as well.
Yeah, he's real quick.
really slippery. He's able to use the QSS as well if he does get locked up.
Yep. Going to be real hard to get rid of that Vayne. OQ is the key damage member of the squad, but the rest of TDK are doing at least some with 2 Sunfire capes, you know, a couple hundred ability power on the Elise. It's not no damage, it's just not 35-minute crush you team fight damage.
Yeah.
It does, over time, shift more and more to OQ.
Yeah.
Dragon 4 is up in 55 seconds.
Yeah, Baron's also going to be around the same time.
Yeah.
TDK could possibly go for one of those, Vayne is doing Dragon. Maybe we kind of contest Baron and stop it. Or we do it. Okay, it's back and forth. Flares has a Hex Drinker as well. And this is something that I usually pick up on Poppy when I'm just really far ahead. Just because I want more MR and damage.
Right, you want to start being a bigger carry force.
But I don't really know if he actually needs to go be a carry force on this team. I think that Vayne should be more than enough. Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Well, that's a damage dealt.
That's a face the mountain.
Yep. Shields coming in, and you know they're going to survive. Ezreal used to help wave clear, and that was actually pretty smart. The True Shot Barrage buying some time.
Oh man, there's no vision control here from Ember at all. They have been choked out. Kez and all of TDK have been doing an amazing job.
And Dragon 4 is up.
The control. Dragon 4's up, but who cares? Baron is what's on the table here for TDK.
And there's not really any wards. They started up right now. They spot that Ember are in fact coming across the map, so disengage, don't lose the health bars, be safe. Flair's got in behind Stunt though, and they want to knock down the support. He doesn't have a lot of durability, pops the Logos Shield, losing health rapidly, and that's going to be the first kill picked up by Flares with the ultimate. Into the back line they go, going to glue, locked up and taken down, a double kill for the Poppy. This could be the fight that wins the game. OQ on a rampage now, finding more and more people to kill. Flares back in the front line, OQ just diving in for Santorin, saying I want into the LCS. He's pushed in, Silverbolts will do it, that'll take him down. 4 kills picked up, 10-1 the scoreboard. And though they lost game 1, TDK have won 3 straight. They have won the Challenger semifinal. They're making it into the Promo Tournament. They're making it into the Challenger Finals. The Ember postseason is done. They are finished until Summer. TDK's life is still alive. They can still get farther. Congratulations on a huge win for TDK. I can't see them losing it here.
TDK closing out the game, 12-1. Their drafts rather good, and blue side every single game. And hey, it was the right side.
It was the right side. First pick Poppy 4 times in a row. Flares continuing to be successful. Alex Sitch with 2 Nautilus mid games to make sure that was all kosher. And it was a solid game.
That was crazy. Alex comes back down. Barely any experience with the squad, which was exactly what happened last year when TDK qualified for the LCS, was they pulled Alex in at the last moment. They were like, hey man, I know we don't have a lot of practice, but we know you're good, and just do your thing. And then it's that time of year again. He just comes back in. He's like, all right, at TDK, I heard you need to get back into the LCS. And he just jumps on. He goes off of an LCS squad to come onto this one. And I think this is going to be something that might actually continue moving forward, too. We'll have to see what does happen.
Sure. It's been an interesting career track, definitely, for Alex, who, you know, after eventually leaving Gambit, he was like, okay, I'm going to make my way through the European Challenger Series. Never was quite able to, but then did so quite well in the North American Challenger Series. And once again is kind of leading a team into you know, some of the best games they've ever played.
Yeah.
Certainly. TDK, again, actually, is a thing for him. And this is going to be interesting to track because TDK definitely look much better. They definitely do. Alex coming in, being a playmaker, because the issue with his team was passivity and not taking initiative. 2 Lissandra games, 2 Nautilus games. Alex gets a go button, and the team gets to follow.
Yeah.
Turns out, when there's a big green targeting reticle over somebody, whether you speak English or Korean or Russian or whatever it is, you look forward, you start hitting that target, and Alex was able to get the team to make some very good choices. And I mean, overall, right, this team played much better than they did all throughout the regular season. And they won, and they deserved it.
Yeah, and that's why it's an upset. 3rd seed just knocked out the 2nd seed, which could have been the 1st seed. They had, I believe, 4 points dividing them. 6 points for TDK, 10 points for Ember.
Yeah.
Ember was only 1 point ahead of 1st place, where they maybe could have avoided this matchup, right?
Yep.
You just think about that game that they dropped against TDK last week.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been enough.
Yeah.
They would have been actually able to pass. So that is something that Ember are going to have to think about, you know, when they come back next split, how much every game actually counts when you come into playoffs, because that was really big. TDK, though, I mean, losing Seraph, a lot of people assumed that was going to be the death blow. They assumed that was going to be TDK saying, okay, we cut our losses, we got third, we can't beat Ember, let's just gather some people. Seraph, you can go off and you can go do your thing.
And help Renegades stay in and all that.
And
But Alex picked up where Seraph left off.
Exactly.
Hey, look, even played Lissandra. Even played top lane tanks like not like.
Yeah,
you could have just replaced the player name and be like, yeah, I could see Seraph doing that. Like, legitimately, he filled the void left by Seraph, who was, one of the cornerstone members of TDK. Alex played absolutely great, low deaths every single game. He was the engage tool. It was solid. It was just absolutely great. I mean, just massive props to Alex for being the impetus his team needed.
Yeah, there's a couple things, though, I do want to touch on. Is with Seraph out, I mean, the only time that he played a tank was Rammus, where he went 4-1 and 14. And then the other time, I guess he played Gnar, which you can consider, but he went for like a split pushing build. Everything else is like Quinn, Lissandra, Fjord, Rave, stuff like that.
Right.
Now they have a top laner that's going to play a tank for OQ.
Sure.
And enable this fantastic AD carry to play his game. They reconstructed the team with OQ in mind. Give him a support that plays all of
Keep
his
him up,
tanks. It has a lot of experience playing support, right?
Yeah.
Then you get people who can play tanks. They're just like, oh, more tanks are open? Just give OQ all the tanks, because he knows how to perform on this Vayne. He knows how to perform on his Ezreal, and he just really opens up the game for you. So I want to talk about two more things, right?
Okay, let's go for it.
Kez did fantastically this game, and it was the series, and it was the whole balance of aggression with Alex, and when those calls were to close the game out, and when they were to just establish vision, get the blue buff, slowly choke them out of vision, and basically set up plays where you can flank solo and tilt them. And then the last one was, of course, well, that's it for Ember.
Yeah, it is.
They're going back to Challenger, and they're going to have to try again, and they looked so promising. They had that upward trajectory, but they just got snap past right there by TDK.
Yeah.
Really fast improvement.
Absolutely agree. So a solid, moderately aggressive, controlled set of games by TDK. Really cool champ selects, really good innovations there. The mid lane Nautilus, definitely exciting. Sticking to their guns at the top lane, Poppy ended up working out. By game 2, they said, okay, let's bring in Trundle to kill the Nautilus. By game 3, it was let's steal the Nautilus. Let's start counterpicking the composition as it's coming together. And again, it worked out. Ember, honestly, would have liked to see more from them. I felt like there were so many opportunities for them to play a bit more aggressively. Santorin kind of going back to that invisible TSM situation where just... Look, his scorelines were fine. Like, his Rek'Sai game was like 0-1 and 6, 100% KP, 1 death. That's not bad, but we just didn't see enough come out of these guys. Right? The game starts in a lane swap where you get the same number of turrets and the same amount of gold, and you're like, all right, here we are 10 minutes in the same situations. And then, Ember never pull the trigger, and TDK does, and, beautiful stuff by TDK.
Yeah, TDK played a fantastic series, and the adaptations that they were making were the big part, because Ember didn't seem to adapt. They seemed to be very slow, golden glue on utility over and over again, not taking the Nautilus, seeing... Like, the Nautilus going mid seemed so overwhelming that they didn't even want to do... They didn't do anything about it, and it
I don't think Ember adapted well in Champ Select. TDK had a couple of things that you can consider Champ Select advantages, Champ Select victories, and that they're more likely to win. Either way, it was a great series by them. We're going to actually pull up a replay of the final game-winning push, the push that got TDK into the promotion tournament here, and we'll have that on your screen shortly, actually. Right now we have just the victory screen, but I'm sure that will change very shortly for us here as we get ourselves into the situation where it was TDK actually winning the whole entire thing. I mean, these guys played such a good series. The composition, being able to pilot it properly, it's something you have to scrim with, right? It's something you have to prepare coming into the match. And I guess we don't have the replay for you right now to talk about this one, but coming into the matchup and knowing, okay, look, it's a massive tank composition. It's putting everything together and knowing what lanes you can focus, getting Kez to actually gank that solo lane so much that he was... It's funny because it was a protect the Vayne composition, right? 4 tanks in a Vayne. You think it was, oh, get OQ ahead, get him all the kills, and that wasn't actually required by TDK. Their practice had paid off, and they were able to say, you know what, no, we can just simply focus on the top lane matchup. We know that we can get solo behind, we can get flares ahead, and OQ can just take the farm, right? No one else needs the same kind of items as everyone else. Here we do finally have the situation, and it's FLICKR making the big plays, getting the knockup on a stun, and they're happy just focusing as support. As long as you put all your damage on one person, that's fine. Alex and FLICKR still just in the front, buying time for everybody, and just being a wrecking ball going forward and forward and forward, and they can't be stopped at the end. Okay, everyone's dead. OQ is happy to flash into the base and outplay everyone else, but honestly, just really impressive stuff that they were able to understand when it was time to go, when it was time to push in really hard, and actually really press for those kills. It was honestly just a great set of games to watch. When they played these 4 tank compositions, they executed them so well. First team I've really seen play a comp like this. Normally Protect the Vein has supports. You're seeing Morganas and Jannas and Lulu mids and things, but it was just the tanks. And it was beautiful because OQ, it wasn't always just about him. It was about Kez making a lot of really great ganks, getting the lanes ahead. It was about Alex coming in and helping to engage the fights. It was flares on the TP flanks. It was honestly a team game from this squad. It was honestly really beautiful. So that was the game-winning push. Honestly, massive props to TDK for playing a really, really good series for themselves. And of course, that sets us up for the playoff bracket because, hey, TDK are into the finals, right? They're into the finals. They're going to find out who they play tomorrow. Of course, we will see Apex take on Team Liquid Academy tomorrow at the same time that this series started, but it also means that TDK are for sure in the promo tournament. If they win the finals, they get a better seed into that promo tournament, which would be a really big deal. Either way, we wait to see what's going to happen. Their final match will be taking place next week. And in the meantime, of course, it's all just been a whole bunch of fun casting series. A best of 5, well played by TDK, taking down Ember. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific will be the other semifinal. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific, 3 a.m. Central European time if you want to get up early or stay up late for that one. But that will be when the Apex versus Team Liquid Academy matchup happens. But right now, I'd like to welcome a victorious member of TDK, Kez. Welcome, hello, man. So, first of all, I got to ask you about your prep for Ember here, because you came up with some really interesting team compositions. Yeah. Of course, they're coming in as, I think many would consider favorites, and you had only a week to sort of play with this new roster. So talk to me about how difficult putting all that together was.
It was really difficult because the meta shifted a lot to the point where we see like really weird champions playing at mid. Like Graves mid is a thing, and we didn't have a lot of time to prep for it. So we just picked some champions that we were really comfortable with, and then we just practiced with it.
So you had to sort of pick a subset and say, we'll just practice these comps. If we're left without them, you're just kind of screwed. And you hoped you could get them. But it worked out, of course, for you. So I guess you practiced Nautilus mid. Yeah. I assume at some point. Where did this come from? Who decided, guys, I'm gonna bring Nautilus here?
I honestly have no idea. Like, Alex Sich, when he came in, he was like, Nautilus is really OP. And then he just like played it at mid during the scrims. And it was really strong. So we decided to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly worked out. So talk to me about prepping for Ember specifically. Was it just general practice of getting your team on the same page because of the new roster, or were there like specific sort of strategies tailored to this opponent?
It was generally getting everyone on the same page because obviously Oki doesn't really speak English, but I can speak both language fluently. Right. So even during the games, I have to be the translator for OQ and between the team. And it was really hard for me to do it at the start because even in team fights, I have to like translate to OQ like what the team's gonna do.
Oh man, go forward and type back to someone.
And it was really stressful for me.
Sure. So I'm actually sort of curious because we see a lot of these multi-language teams in professional play. China's got most of them in that situation. How frequently are you having to translate things? Like if you could guess how many calls a game you have to put in both languages.
How many calls?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Is that hard to estimate?
Yes.
Is it like 50 or is it like 5?
I'd say every 30 to 30 seconds.
Every 30 seconds you've got to give direction to both languages.
Yeah.
That is pretty tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
Okay. But I mean, you guys made it work, right? You had some really good aggressive plays. I lost my train of thought. Dang, I've done this twice this. I feel bad about this. So but talk to me about your growth as a player, because we've seen you around for a very long time. You've been with TDK for now almost ever at this point. I mean, I remember you way back on Cloud9 Tempest as well. So sort of what are the kind of things you've learned along the way as sort of a shot caller the whole time and as a jungler the whole time, as the game has shifted for all these years? Tell me some of these lessons you sort of learned.
Like right now, the meta shifted towards the carry jungle meta, and that's not really my style from the beginning. I'm more like a support player. Like everyone calls me out on buying side stones and stuff, and I kind of I don't know. It was a team effort. Like I couldn't really gank well, but my teammates would tell me where to gank, how to gank, and from there I caught up on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it seems like you had a really great series. You got a lot of kills for the team. And, hey, you guys won a really outstanding series, 3-1. It's super impressive. Kez, props in the win. Congratulations. We'll see you in the finals.
Thank you.
And thank you, of course, very much for joining us. So now on behalf of myself, Kez, all of TDK for the great victories, Irene, and the entire live broadcast crew, thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow for day 2 of our Challenger semifinal coverage. Good night.
Yo, man, look at me, man. I got all the jewels. Look at my shoes, man. I'm sharp, man.